If you were a young man who doesn't know much about politics, who do you think you would rather listen to? Him?
Because young men feel sort of worthless, they feel disenfranchised by society, they're not sure where to go.
Or her?
Men use their masculinity in toxic ways.
You'd probably choose Piers, wouldn't you? Not because he's correct, but because he presents himself with an air of poise and confidence that Cecilia simply doesn't. In this installment of Twig's Change Project, I'm gonna walk you through some of the psychological principles the right has mastered in order to appeal to men, and how we as leftists can use those very same tactics to win back their support. Let's get into it.
My first surrounded claim is that masculinity has never been toxic.
Before any of the liberals even get up to challenge Piers, he's already built up rapport with men in a very simple way, by validating them. Let's face it, leftists are often portrayed as blaming men for all of the world's issues. So compare that to how conservatives talk about men.
Unlike the left, we stand against treating anybody, and I love what Nikki said about this. We don't treat anybody different because of their race or their sex. So we have relegated DEI to the dustbin of history, which is exactly where it belongs. We don't persecute you for being male.
And you start to realize why men gravitate towards the side that tells them that there's nothing wrong with them. It's human nature, after all. These men often struggle to feel valued. And in America, the left, being the Democrats, often fails to prioritize men amongst their other initiatives like LGBTQ plus rights or access to contraception. This is the very same tactic that Donald Trump used in his 2024 campaign in order to convince men to vote for him.
We don't treat anybody different because of their race or their sex.
So circling back to the claim,
Masculinity has never been toxic.
I actually agree. Masculinity is not inherently toxic. Rather, the version of masculinity conservatives often preach that's more focused on control and exploitation than kindness and fatherly protection is what's really toxic. But let's hear what one of our woke liberals has to say on this matter.
We are participating in. When I said, well, in North America, you rejected that. And I go, well, that's the foundational piece of this. What we're talking about, toxic masculinity, is essentially a North American version of masculinity that we seem to not like.
Well, no, it's not, is it?
She said it better than I could, but Piers counters with a fallacy so devious that you might just miss it.
It's a symptom of weak, whiny, woke wastrels who've decided they're going to revise what masculinity is, and they're going to make all men feel terrible. They're going to make men hate themselves. They're going to make everybody else hate men. And at that point, I'm like, what are you doing here? Why would women, for example, want their men to be weak, whiny, woke wastrels?
This is overgeneralization. Piers takes Kyla's very reasonable position on the subject of toxic masculinity.
So I would reject the idea that everything that masculinity is toxic. I think that there can be bad elements of anything.
What do you like about men?
What do I like about men? Lots of things. I think that like the idea of protectionism is good. I think the willingness to kind of like self-sacrifice is very tied to the version of masculinity we have. I think that that's a very good thing. I think the like desire to provide is also a really good thing, and stand up for like principles and strength. I think all of these things are wonderful things.
And blows it out of proportion, claiming that the left hates all men.
Everything about me is supposedly toxic.
While Kyla seems to have her heart in the right place regarding men's mental health, remember, most men will still gravitate towards the position that validates them. And because she's unable to provide a clear alternative to Piers' stoic view of masculinity, she's swiftly voted out.
About stoicism.
I think we agree with each other.
Overall, I think Kyla did quite well considering the circumstances, but not well enough to win over the support of many men who are already disillusioned with identity politics. With Kyla's time at the table coming to an end, though, let's see how our next woke liberal does.
Hi, Piers.
How are you?
Ceci.
Ceci, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay. First, I want to say that I don't think that masculinity is toxic.
Great.
I just think
Debate
that
over.
Now, I would argue Cecilia is doing way worse than Kyla here. Not only does she immediately agree with Piers's premise, but she also proceeds to go on a tangent about misogyny, the very argument that many modern men are tired of hearing.
Men
Hang on,
use
hang
their.
on, hang on.
I'm wait.
Jazzy, debate over.
No, it's
That's
not.
the whole point
The
of my argument.
problem
I agree
is
with you.
no, because you're talking about a trait, right? So I don't think masculinity is toxic. I think men use their masculinity in toxic ways or hide other traits that are toxic behind their masculinity. Okay. I feel like a lot of blame gets placed on women for all of this, but in reality, you've done it to each other.
Then we take a look at Piers, who comes off as the calm and polite one in this exchange.
Here's the thing.
They monetize
Am I allowed to get a
insecurities
word
and
in?
trauma. You can have your facial reactions.
Time out.
Go ahead.
Politely.
Go
time
ahead.
out. I think what you're talking about is misogyny. There's already a word for that. It's not toxic masculinity. That's the point of my argument. I don't think masculinity has ever been toxic. I do think some men are horrible misogynists
But do you think
and should
some
be
of them
called
hide
out,
behind
as
it?
I call them
mean,
out.
Don't you think some men hide behind their masculinity? I'm sick of hearing men say, we have to protect and provide.
Why shouldn't we?
And that is almost, if not more important to winning the debate than actually holding the winning position. Many of the contestants actually do the opposite. They have a winning position, but they still lose the debate because they come off as frantic and unprepared.
But that's not toxic masculinity.
But
that is actually misogyny. There's a word for it.
I guess the reason, but I think that all of this was fueled by people like Andrew Tate, because like you said, toxic masculinity, we've never spoke about this before.
Cecilia isn't wrong about anything necessarily, but because she seems so flustered compared to Piers here, she ends up playing right into Piers's hand. So far, Piers Morgan is in the driver's seat with a concrete view of stoic masculinity that he's defending very well.
If you want to win at life, you've got to learn it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit, get back up, and keep moving forward.
And he's about to deliver the knockout blow. But to understand how Piers won this section of the debate so convincingly, let's see what a liberal guy has to say on the matter of toxic masculinity.
Okay, in general, the point that I would make here is that toxic masculinity is kind of an overexpression of certain masculine traits that we see in this certain context to be harmful. We're not saying all masculine traits are harmful or it's harmful to be a masculine man. It's certain characteristics that we would associate with masculinity.
Which masculine trait do you think is harmful?
Yeah, like for example, an overexpression of stoicism.
As a psychology student, I think Parker's onto something here. The way I hear toxic masculinity used most often is in reference to the suppression of negative emotions that society has long discouraged men from expressing in public. You know, the whole real men don't cry thing that red pill influencers love to push out.
There's some other people who talk about mental toughness and want to give advice, and when bad things happen to them, they end up addicted to prescription drugs. I'm not a coward and I'm not a liar.
He cried.
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
I mean, that's crying.
I would disagree.
Don't lie. You see, don't lie on the public platform.
So yeah, I think Parker has the winning position here. All he needs to do is to provide a concrete alternative to Piers's view of masculinity for aspiring leftist men to emulate. In other words, how can a man achieve true balance and the ability to express his emotions without going into outbursts of pent-up rage? How can he let himself feel the feels while still not giving up and still feeling masculine? Let's see what Parker's solution is together. And then let's compare it to Piers's solution.
Men should go to therapy. It's an important thing that they should do.
So that's his solution? Just go to therapy? Even as a psychology major and a mental health awareness advocate, I don't think that just going to therapy is enough of a solution for many men. First of all, going to talk therapy requires you to be vulnerable and to be at least somewhat in touch with your emotions, something that men have been conditioned not to do. But more importantly, the other problem with saying just go to therapy is that therapy is often inaccessible and expensive as fuck, which leads a lot of men to turn to easier, cheaper forms of emotional regulation, such as the stoic masculinity that Piers Morgan is so passionate about.
Stoicism doesn't mean you have to be an sort of unemotional, Spock from Star Trek. That's not what it means at all. Stoicism means that when you're dealt a tough blow in life, you're able to reach inside yourself and deal with it in a strong manner, right? If you want to win at life, you've got to learn it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit, get back up, and keep moving forward.
Bottom line, Parker has the right idea here, but even he fails to provide a concrete alternative to Piers' position. If we as leftists continue failing to provide healthy models of emotional regulation for men, we will inevitably lose the media war for men. So that begs the question, what does healthy masculinity look like? Just as Piers said, masculinity was never inherently toxic.
Masculinity has never been toxic.
As a leftist man myself, I can attest to that. The left can absolutely use more manpower to help achieve our goals of shrinking the wealth gap and making sure everyone on Earth is able to make an honest living. So let's start by looking inward. When I think of the man that I want to be, I think of this. Someone who's strong, both physically and morally. I want to protect those that cannot protect themselves. I want to be kind and gentle, like a summer rain, letting my warmth wash over everyone so that they can feel safe. Most of all though, I want to be a man with an unending, fiery passion in my heart. Passion to use my strength to save the weak so that one day they can become strong themselves. These are characteristics that I would call extremely masculine. Characteristics I believe I possess. The thing is, I'm nowhere near perfect as a person. But that's okay. It's the striving for virtue that matters. Conservatives expect a perfect caricature of masculinity from every man. They expect men to be Superman, when in reality, they should really be more like Batman or Spider-Man. Heroic figures in their own right, but with relatable human flaws. The toxic part of masculinity is exactly that. Creating impossible standards and then shaming men when they don't live up to them. Instead, what I think the left needs to do is to create multiple role models for men who may not be perfect, but use their masculine traits like kindness and passion for justice to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to help better the lives of other people who are struggling. Someone like Zoran Mamdani. In order for the left to win back the support of men, we need leftist fitness influencers, leftist dating coaches, even leftist gamers, all of whom exhibit passionate masculinity, the kind where you strive to be a better man than you were yesterday, instead of striving to be the perfect man. Because the truth is, your only opponent in life is yourself. So now we know how the left can reconnect with men more effectively. But in order to do that, we need to dismantle toxic, patriarchal standards that the American ruling class uses to oppress its people. So I made a video about the psychology of purity culture to expose how we are all subconsciously conditioned with conservative Christian values that perpetuate toxic masculinity, even if you're not aware of it. I'll leave it down here for you to check out. So as always, I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace!